Hey guys, this is Sherm from Treehouse, coming to you with a little bit of information. The reason I always say Sherm from Treehouse is because I just kind of like people to understand what Treehouse is. Treehouse is not just a company, but we represent an idea, we represent a movement, and we represent forward motion. So that's why I always like to associate my name with the company, because it's a reminder of what we represent. First of all, we always start out with thank yous. I get a lot of inspiration. I get a lot of encouragement. People encourage me to do videos, to share ideas, and I appreciate it. I appreciate every single one of you, and I just want to say thank you. Again, we all need encouragement from time to time. We're all human. We all get tired. We all have natural tendencies. So just once again, just a quick thank you to everybody out there. There are many topics, for us to discuss, but today we're going to be discussing Sosua Beach. It's the latest hot thing going on in Sosua here in Dominican Republic. Like, what's going on with Sosua Beach? Is it closing down? Are they going to kick everybody off the beach? Like, what's going on? And unfortunately, I don't have the time to have 40 or 50 1-hour conversations about the beach. So actually it's quicker to make a video, and then everybody can kind of share it and kind of share their thoughts and their ideas. As far as Sosua Beach is concerned, Treehouse has been on Sosua Beach for 7 years. That was the first spot. That's where everything started. And over that 7-year period, there have been many changes. There have been administrative changes. There have been structural changes. There have been changes in the business attitude, the way people operate on the beach. And those are some of the changes that have happened within the duration of our time on Sosua Beach's Treehouse. But in any event, as it relates to Sosua Beach, it's time for change in general. People, as a rule, they oppose change. So whenever change comes, people oppose it. They oppose it for many reasons. Sometimes people are uncertain about the future. Sometimes people are fearful of the future. Sometimes it's just arrogance. Sometimes it's ignorance. Sometimes it's just laziness. But regardless of what reason, change always comes. Change is something that always happened all throughout human history. When it comes to the Dominican government and change, as it relates to changing the beach, many mistrust the government. However, it's always good, in my opinion, to have like a moderate view, a view that's somewhere kind of in the middle. And it's also always well to have like moderate ideas, as well. In general, we know many governments are corrupt. Many people think or feel that the Sosua government or the Dominican government is corrupt, and whatever they do to the beach is going to be something that's corrupt and self-serving. But that's not always the situation. It's never always the situation. Of course, we have leaders, we have governments that are corrupt, but also within those governments, we have people who sincerely have the interest of the people, who sincerely have the interest of the community at heart. You have people who want to make a positive change for their people, for their community, for their country. And we can take that view as it relates to the government here in Dominican Republic. It's not that the governments are always against people or that they're up to something. Many times they do have the general interest of the people at heart. And if we don't understand that, and if we cannot perceive or understand that, people want to help their own people, that may be ignorance on our part. In other words, the beach does need to change. My personal opinion of the beach is, to me, it reminds me of the 70s. If you ever had been to the South in the 70s, that's kind of what things look like here in Dominican Republic and on the beach. It's not up to date. There's a lot of things that need to be done as far as hygiene, as far as look, as far as the operation of the beach in general. So as it relates to the government, they put forth a proposal to change the beach, to renovate the beach, and to come along with these things. One of the reasons they put forth the change, or the proposal to change the beach, because they felt the beach was disorganized. So one reason was disorganization. A second reason was the leadership. Many felt that the beach didn't have adequate or strong enough leadership that represented what's going on in the time period that we live in, So that was another issue. Another issue that the beach was slated for change was citizen safety, the safety of the people in the community in general, but also the safety of the tourists, because of course on the beach you need police protection, you need regulations to make sure when people come and visit, when tourists come, that they're safe. And naturally the country has responsibility for the safety of the tourists. Another reason for a change on the beach was productivity. The beach could be more productive. It could produce more. It could generate more tourism. There are many positive things that would and will come from change on the beach. And one of the other major reasons for change on the beach was its overall effect on the community. Many people in the community feel, many of the Dominicans themselves have the feeling that they're not welcome on the beach, that the beach is not something that is reflective of something that is actually in their community. So even though many people live near the beach, even though many people are in close proximity to the beach, they feel that they don't have the ability or the money, or the beach is not, in other words, the beach is not welcoming for them. So many people, even though as close as they live to the beach, they don't come because, one, they can't afford it. The prices are too high. Sometimes when they go to sit in the chairs or bring their family, being that it is a public beach, sometimes they're turned away by companies who are just interested in profit. So they're looking for tourists. They're not looking for their brothers and sisters, the fellow Dominicans. So that's one of the reasons many Dominicans do not come to the beach, as many as could actually. And that's one of the reasons that the association on the beach doesn't have as much support as it could have, because of how the communities in general feel. So there could be more support contra to change on the beach, but it's not there because they don't have the apoyo or the support of the community. But I'm going to give you some of my personal observations. Like I said, I've been on the beach for at least 7 years, and these are just my observations. One of the observations I have is the organization of the beach. On the beach, they have a organization. It's called the Beach Association, and they have the responsibility of making sure the beach is in order and that things go smoothly on the beach. But on the beach as it stands, there are drugs, there is corruption, there is dishonesty, and there is a lack of safety, especially at night. You can't really go there at night because you don't know, and there's not enough protection for tourists. So that's why it's not like Cabarete Beach. That's one of the reasons people don't really go there at night. Normally after about 6:30 or when it gets dark, people in general leave the beach. Nobody really is coming on the beach after that time. Goes back to the association. They are the ones who are responsible, or who were responsible up until this point, for the beach. And they have there are many ideas on the beach about why the beach is in bad shape, or why there are drugs on the beach, or why there are the situation is bad on the beach. And some people want to blame it on the Haitians. They say, the Haitians came and the Haitians brought drugs to the beach, and they brought disorder to the beach, and they did all of these things to the beach. That's why the beach is in bad shape. But the reality is the Haitians aren't doing anything that is not allowed by the Dominicans. So the Dominican owners, Dominicans who have authority on the beach, Haitians cannot do anything unless it's allowed. So ultimately, the association has responsibility for the beach. Ultimately, Dominicans are responsible for the behavior that goes on the beach. And ultimately, Haitian people aren't doing anything that they're not being allowed to do. So we have to let responsibility fall where it should. We have to let people take responsibility for their jobs. If you're responsible for the care of the beach, you have to make sure the beach is taken care of. Nobody wants to hear excuses. Nobody wants to hear bullshit. If it's in bad shape and you are in control, you're responsible. Nothing more, nothing less. Another thing that I noticed that is one of the reasons for the decline of the beach is personal responsibility. And let's call personal responsibility taxes. And we all know that in order for government to function, in order for communities to function, everybody has to pay their fair share. Everybody has to carry their weight. So that's where taxes come in. So people have to pay taxes. They have to be willing to accept responsibility for their part. Many people want services. They want things to be better. But without taxes, these things can't be done. The money isn't going to appear, out of nowhere. So we all have to be responsible, and we all have to pay taxes, and we all have to be honest in that area as well. Another thing that I see is part of the demise of the beach to this point is recognition of authority. So you have the government, the local government, which ultimately has responsibility for caring for the beach. And what's happened over the years is that the beach itself has tried to take that responsibility away from the government. The beach itself, or those who are in charge of the beach, held the position that we're in charge of the beach and we make the decisions here, and you guys can't step in. And so in recent years, what's been happening is that the government, or the people who actually hold the authority, have been like, listen, we're in charge of the beach. We're going to take back the authority and control of the beach. That's one of the reasons you see more police presence on the beach. If you remember, maybe 3 years back or 2.5 years back, there wasn't a lot of police presence on the beach. And that was because they would keep the gates locked and they wouldn't let the police in, only in cases of emergency. But they had to fix that, and the police have the authority, the right, and the necessity to be on the beach at all times in order to protect the tourists. And so that's another thing. Like, who is responsible for the beach? The government, ultimately, and then you have the municipality, which is the local government. They are the ones, who are responsible for the beach. So the association has some responsibility, but not to the same extent that the municipality and the government at large has. So as it comes to support, there's been movements in opposition to what the government has planned. You have people marching. You have people, I don't know whether to call it in distress, because some people have been there many years. And the general consensus is that nobody wants to kick anybody off the beach. Some people have built their life there. Some have been there for 20 years or 30 years and things like this. So nobody's trying to put anybody out of a job. And that's one of the reasons that an agreement needs to be reached. They have to reach some type of agreement on how to compensate these people, or how to make sure everything goes well for everybody. That's like one of the basic premises of business in general. Any deal has to be good for everybody. It has to be fair, and it has to represent the interests of everybody involved, not just one party. Everybody has to benefit from whatever business deal is made. So some of the other observations I had regarding the beach is regarding the casetas. Some people come down and like, I want to buy a caseta. A caseta is one of those small booths that the businesses operate out of. Like, for instance, at Treehouse, we have three. We had four, but we have three. We have one which is the kitchen. We have one which is the bar area, and we have another area which is like a lounge area. But those sections are called casetas. And one of the concerns was that no one actually owns the casetas. Some people actually might, but there also is a law that says, you can't have businesses or buildings within, it's either 50 or 60 meters of the water. And so within a certain distance from the water, you're not even supposed to actually have businesses there. And another one of the ideas is that, like the people are kind of permitted to be there. It's almost like squatters' rights as we know it in the States. Somebody is there for a period of time and they invest in the location that they're at. They have rights to a certain extent, I think it's up to the extent that you've invested in that area or in that property. So that's called squatters' rights. And so that's what a lot of people have on the beach. Many don't have an actual deed, or many cannot produce actual proof of ownership of those casetas. So it's always, I've said it from the beginning, it's always dangerous to buy a caseta on the beach because you don't actually know who owns it. And this change that is coming to the beach is an actual example of what I'm saying. So the change is coming. If you bought a property on the beach, quote unquote, you don't know how that's going to turn out. You have people who have bought businesses on the beach. They don't know how it's going to turn out because, those previous owners, there actually isn't sufficient documentation to say that they actually own those places. So it's very, very, very possible that you could lose a lot of money. Even when you see businesses that, some of us see the businesses that sell the chairs on the beach. They have all of these chairs stacked up. And they manage those businesses as if they own the beach area in front or wherever those chairs are. But the real deal of it is it's a public beach. And if you have a chair, or if you have a blanket, or if you have an umbrella, or if you want to come with your family with a cooler, you can actually go and sit on the beach and you don't need to be harassed. But people will come and harass you because they want to sell and they want to make money. But you can actually sit there if you bring your own chair and your own umbrella. It's a public beach and it's for free. So what happens is when people buy those businesses with the chairs, and when they rent the chairs, they're renting from the beach association, the association of Playa. They're receiving permission from that association to sell chairs or to sell that service in a particular area. So they are buying the right to do business within a particular area of the beach. They by no means own that area of the beach because beaches are all public property. No one owns the beach, but they are just buying the right to do business in that area. So that's one of the observations I have on the beach. Another observation is, or from what I come to understand, there's actually a family that owns the majority of the land behind those booths or behind those casetas. So if you ever took the time out to look behind those casetas, you're going to see a lot of land. It's actually a huge amount of land that's being unused. And so what's happened over the years is that, the people who had casetas on the beach, they've kind of encroached upon, the property of the actual landowner, and so I remember it was about, I want to say, maybe about 8 months ago, or maybe even a year and change now, but they actually had surveyors coming out on the beach determining the actual property lines of the people who actually own the beach. So before they used to have up like little wire barbed wire gates and stuff, and the people kick them over and stuff like that. But there is a amount of land in front of the beach that these people actually own. And so the people who are there, as I said before, they have what we call squatters' rights. As far as the construction of the beach is slated to be constructed in 3 sections or 3 plazas. So there's going to be a plaza when you enter the beach from the Sosua side. And if you're familiar with Chatamico, there's going to be a plaza that's going to be constructed on the Chatamico end. And then there's going to be a plaza that's going to be constructed in the center. And also, as far as the people who have businesses on the beach, or those owners, quote unquote, they're supposed to be given a certain amount of space to operate out of, and there's something about them being given government loans to improve their spaces, or whatever it is. But you also have to keep in mind, in order for anyone to receive government loans, they have to have the correct documentation, and you also actually have to have legitimate business in order to benefit from those type of things. So that's also important. They're not going to give you money for nothing. You have to actually be a legitimate business. As far as the construction is concerned, they say that the construction is going to happen, but the construction is not going to interfere with the normal operation of the beach, and so the beach should be able to stay open during this construction. There's supposed to be construction, and that construction is not supposed to be interfering with tourism or the beach. When does the construction start? Nobody knows. They haven't been given a definitive answer. One of the other rumors was that there was going to be a hotel of some sort in the middle of the beach, but that remains seen. But they do have plans so far to have the beach with 3 sections or 3 plazas, one on the Sosua side, one on the Chatamico side, and one in the middle of the beach. How long would the construction take? Nobody knows. I don't know that it would be super fast, because there's going to be a lot of negotiating, and there's going to be a lot of back and forth with the people who are on the beach. And I'm sure that the government is fair to the extent that it's going to negotiate in good faith with the people who are on the land. Even if they don't actually own the land, I'm sure the government is going to know that they're going to make accommodation for those people. As far as we're concerned, as far as you're concerned, the beach is safe. It's safe for tourism. The businesses are going to be open. Treehouse is open. You keep coming, keep enjoying yourself. It's still a great place to be. It's still a beautiful beach. It's going to remain a beautiful beach, but there are going to be some changes. As far as Treehouse itself as a company is concerned, Treehouse is an actual functioning company. Treehouse Papas is a corporation. We're functioning legitimately. We're doing honest business on the beach. And our position is that when spots are being given out, or if there's like a first right to refusal, or an opportunity to open up a bigger spot or a better spot on the beach, we would like to be first on that list, because in my opinion, there are 3 major companies on the beach. I consider George 64, I consider Mofongo King, and I consider Treehouse to be the top 3 on the beach as far as sales and service. And so based on that, and based on the fact that we are a legitimate functioning company, abiding by the law, paying our taxes, doing everything correctly, I do feel that we should have a spot on the table. So that's how we fit in, and that's my my thoughts. But anyway, guys, thanks for listening in. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. We have a lot more to talk about. Just going to give you a quick rundown, and if you feel like it, just tell me what you want me to talk about next. But I got a few things on my list. I have alphas and simps. I have free pussy. I have community involvement. I have code of conduct. I have business ideas. I have who we are as Treehouse. Why Treehouse is falling back for a minute right now, and who Treehouse is going to be going forward. So those are just some of the topics that I have that I want to address. But if you guys have any ideas of what you want me to address next in the next video, which should be in a day or two, let me know, and then we'll go with what is most requested. Thank you guys. I love you. Talk to you soon. Peace and love.